Hey guys, it's Maggie and I am back today, and today I thought we could talk about some of the ostomy supplies that I highly suggest you have on hand, especially if you are new to the stoma world. I recently had to place an order for ostomy supplies, and it kind of made me think about what are the supplies that I absolutely need to care for my stoma, and what things can I do without? So I'm going to talk about those in today's video. If you like this video, I would love if you subscribed, hit the thumbs up button. That would mean a lot to me, but yes, let's get into it. There are so many different ostomy supplies out there. There are so many accessory items that you can get. And as patients, I think you'll probably agree, being a patient is expensive. So if there are any extras that you might not need, you might want to know about it. Now, please keep in mind that you need to talk with your stoma nurse, your surgeon, whoever you go to for care with your ostomy before deciding what products you want and which ones that you can do without. This video is more about my personal experience with my ostomy, things that I definitely use and stuff that I have found I never use. So take this as you will. But for most of the items, I will put links in the description below. I'll put my Amazon links if it's available on Amazon. If it's something totally different, I will put a link for you to find it. Hopefully this can help guide you a little bit in getting supplies for your ostomy and help educate you a little bit more. Okay, so for the first thing that I definitely use every single day, every time that I empty my ostomy, deodorizer. This is a huge concern for many new patients and experienced patients alike, is odor. And that's the thing about having an ostomy, is we sort of have a benefit in that realm because our output is contained within a plastic bag, which allows us to put in deodorizers. This is the one that my insurance covers, so this is just what I get. But I also like the Convatec one. It has a little bit more of a perfumey scent, whereas this doesn't have a scent at all. And basically it neutralizes any odors in your ostomy bag, which can make you feel a lot more comfortable. I know it does for me, especially when I have to empty my bag out in public or at a friend's house. That can be really nerve-wracking, and this reduces that. So highly recommend looking into a deodorizer. The next thing that I recommend, especially if you are a brand new patient, is getting something like a barrier ring or barrier strips. Now, there are pastes available, which I have some right here. Here's a Coloplast paste. This is a Hollister paste. I have found that patients have difficulty using liquid paste like these to help kind of even out the skin around their stoma. I have found that patients put way too much of this on, and it can be really hard removing it afterwards. It gets messy. I personally recommend, if you had to choose one thing, to get a barrier ring. It's going to be the easiest to put around your stoma, but you're not limited to it being a ring. You can tear this stuff up. You can shape it however you want. Obviously, you want to minimize the amount that you touch it because it becomes a little less sticky if you do so, but you can kind of treat it like clay and just fill in the spaces that you need. And I have found different companies make theirs a little bit differently from each other. I noticed that the Hollister ones tend to be a little bit more formed, a little bit more rigid, which can be good, especially when removing your ostomy. It tends to come off in one piece, whereas an ostomy ring like the 𝐜𝐨𝐥𝐿 from Convatec tends to mold a little bit better to your body, but can be a little bit more difficult to remove. So it's really what your preference is. I remember having trouble with the Hollister ones in the hospital on some of my patients. I found that they leaked a little bit easier because they were just rigid, and it took a little bit more heat, a little bit more warmth to get it to mold right to the skin. But yeah, you can tear these babies up and use them however you want. Remember, ostomy care is an art as much as it is a science, so whatever you can do to get it to work, as long as you're maintaining your skin integrity, you're not damaging your stoma, go for it. Now, the next two things I highly recommend you keep in your supply closet, and they can kind of go hand in hand with each other, is a good skin barrier wipe or a spray and stoma powder. You are most likely going to get skin irritation, especially if your stoma is new and you're still learning how to get your flange to stick right. you may have skin irritation around your stoma because you might be experiencing more leaks as you get used to your process. So having a little bit of stoma powder around to just place a nice light layer onto the skin, it helps to heal that irritated skin. And of course, if you have a powder on your skin, it makes things a little bit harder to stick to. So having a skin barrier to seal that in is awesome. I actually use a skin barrier every time that I change my ostomy. I use it all over my skin. Some people don't do that. Some people just have their raw skin and they stick the flange right to it. I have a little bit of, it seems like, a sensitivity to some of my flanges, so I like to try and create a nice layer between my skin and my flange, which is why I use a skin barrier. This one here is just one that my insurance covers. It's what they sent me. I probably won't use it because I like the Convatec ones better, the Ascenta line. I think that they're great and they're much easier to use. This is like a tiny little dinky square, whereas the other ones are nice big wipes that you can, cover all of the surface area. But yes, I would definitely keep some skin barrier on hand, even if you're not using it with every bag change, just in case you have to use stoma powder. The next one is one that I didn't really use, I would say, early on in my ostomy changes, but used it later on, and now I use it every time I change my ostomy, and that is adhesive remover. I wish that I had this in the hospital when I got my stoma, because I remember having to change my ostomy bag and it would be sticking really well and I would have to peel it off of, fresh surgical skin. It was awful. It was so painful. It took me like half an hour to get my flange off. It was awful. So if I had had a good adhesive remover meant for peristomal skin, one that doesn't leave that oily feeling to your skin, oh my gosh, it could have made a world of difference, because it left me thinking that was how every ostomy bag change would be in the future. But a good adhesive remover will help save your skin. You want to maintain your skin as best as possible, and this just helps loosen that adhesive rather than you peeling off that top layer of skin. And I find that it gets your skin extra clean. It doesn't leave any residue from your ostomy flange or your paste. You can really get a good clean surface for your next ostomy flange to stick to. And these come in both sprays and wipes. It's really whatever your preference is. I probably use the wipes more often than I do the sprays. The sprays I use depending on what ostomy flange I'm using and how long I've had it on, because the longer you have it on, the less it's probably sticking to you. The next thing is just out of a cautionary tale, get a mattress protector. You do not have to get one of those plastic, sweaty mattress protectors. They make them much better nowadays where they're nice and comfortable and they just feel like fabric. It will save you the hassle of a stained mattress, because depending on how long you have your stoma, there is a chance that you will have a leak in the middle of the night. Now, I have not had a leak to the extent where my mattress was destroyed in a very long time, because my body is just trained to feeling liquid dripping down the side of my stomach. I know that sounds weird, but I've had my stoma for so long and it's just a feeling you become accustomed to. So I highly recommend a mattress protector. I still use it to this day because you never know. I think it's just good to maintain your mattress health, keep all the ickies away. But yes, it will definitely save you some headache, and it makes it a lot easier should you have a leak in the middle of the night to just wrap everything up. And on top of that, what you should do is get a second set of sheets, because it's really annoying when you only have one set of sheets that fit your bed and, it's the middle of the night. You don't want to wash all of your sheets and wait for them to put them back on the bed. Just have a second set ready to go. I also really like to have mini trash bags. Now, a lot of companies do send these mini trash bags with their ostomy bags. Like, this is a Hollister one. I know that Coloplast does this as well. I don't think that Convatec does, but you can also buy them separately. I find it so easy to just place the end of my ostomy right before I'm about to peel it off of my skin, so it just drops down into the bag and it's all taken care of. There's no mess, there's no trying to take it off, hold it, get over to a trash can. It's just already in a bag. So I prefer that. There are these black Ziploc bags that you can buy for this, and I really like them, but you know, saving cost, I just use the ones that I get in my box, but I really like those because what I will do is I'll put my extra ostomy supplies if I'm going out into these Ziploc bags. It keeps it nice and discreet, and then it doubles as the trash bag for when I use the supplies inside of it and I need to throw it away in public. I also really like ostomy covers. This is not something I used a ton early on in my ostomy journey of having Leroy, my stoma. I liked, a lot less on me, but now I find that ostomy covers have more of a purpose than just hiding your ostomy bag or making them pretty. I have noticed with the Hollister bags, if I wear them past like day 4, day 5, they get a bit of an odor to them. So I really like the StomaCloak covers. They absorb the odor and it just reduces it and I don't notice it. Like I notice mine now because I'm about to change my ostomy for this video actually, so I can put some clips in, and it's bugging me. So I like to use the ostomy covers from StomaCloak just to get rid of that. And the last thing that I highly recommend, especially as a new patient, is some sort of app to keep track of what you're drinking, what you're eating, what might work with your stoma, what might not work with your stoma, as well as your weight. I personally just use the free version of MyFitnessPal. I track my weight on there. Sometimes I track my food, but at this point, having an ostomy for over a decade, I kind of know what works and what doesn't, but I can track my intake on there. It's just a really helpful thing to have. Now, there are a number of apps out there. There are also apps designed by ostomy companies that keep track of your output as well, so you can measure your output and keep it on there, because with new stomas, there is the risk that you could get dehydrated quickly, so this helps you kind of keep an eye on what you're intaking and also outputting, and kind of train your mind to understand what is normal for you, your new normal, and what's not normal for you. So those are all of the things that I definitely can't live without. Of course, we should probably add on an ostomy flange and an ostomy bag. You probably want those as well, but I kind of took that as a given. Now, there are a few things that I personally think that you can skip. Of course, check with your stoma nurse. They may have other recommendations for you, especially with some of the things that I have on my list. But these are the things personally that I would skip. The first thing is gloves. I don't use gloves when I change my ostomy. When I first started doing my bag changes, I actually did wear gloves, but you'll find it's very similar to somebody who actually goes to the bathroom normally, wiping. Obviously, you're careful and you wash your hands afterwards. So if you don't want to wear gloves, that is totally fine. Just make sure you wash your hands. The next one is adhesive. Some people find additional adhesive helpful. I always have the theory, less is more. There were points at which my skin was just absolutely destroyed and I was having a lot of trouble, and I relied on adhesive to keep my bag somewhat stuck to me. I think as a new ostomy patient, avoiding adhesives is good. A lot of the times they do have ingredients in them that can sting your skin, so if you don't need it, don't use it. I also think buying special soaps that are for peristomal skin, I personally find it a waste of money. I just use adhesive remover and then water. I think water is your best bet. Obviously other soaps that have oily substances in them can leave your skin oily, so you want to avoid that. But I've had the special soaps for ostomy skin and I never found them to do anything extra or special that plain old water couldn't do. And the last thing, and you might disagree with me on this, and that's totally fine, buying a whole new wardrobe. You will find ways to adjust your wardrobe to make you feel comfortable with your ostomy. Everyone's different. Some people just don't care if their ostomy pokes out or there's a bulge appearing on their stomach. Some people just don't care. And I'm kind of in the middle of sometimes I care, sometimes I don't. Unless you want an excuse to buy new clothes, you'll find ways to adapt to your current wardrobe. Things that I do is I will wear a cami. I have one on today that helps smooth my stomach out. It smooths out my ostomy bag, so that way if I'm wearing a t-shirt like I am today, you can't really tell that I have an ostomy. Sometimes I'll wear high-waisted stuff. It really just depends, but I definitely don't buy clothes specifically for my ostomy. I tried to convince my dad, because I got my stoma when I was 16, tried to convince my dad that I needed a whole new wardrobe, and it kind of worked. And it was great, but you do not need to do that. All right, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you agree, disagree on some of the things that I mentioned. You know, we all have our personal preferences when it comes to our stomas, and you will certainly develop your own opinions about it when you get used to having a stoma. But if you like this video, I would love if you gave it a thumbs up, subscribe, do all the things. And yes, I will be seeing you guys very soon. Bye, guys.